Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Anxiety Chicks podcast. I'm Allison Sefanera,
And I'm Taylor.
and we're so excited to be back here today for another episode. We have a really, really fun episode today. I don't know if I'd say fun, but for me, it's fun because it's a topic that I love to talk about, which is therapy. So we're going to talk a little bit about the role of therapy, okay? Talk about a little bit of the different approaches and kind of what to expect from therapy. I have talked about this in the past on some solo episodes, but like a long time ago. I feel like a refresher is good. Um, but especially for someone that's never been to therapy, I think that it can be really intimidating. It can be a very intimidating process just to even send that email or make that call to go find a therapist. You know what I mean? Um,
Absolutely.
I, I, I don't know. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I feel like it's overwhelming. There's so many different people are like CBT, DBT, exposure therapy. Like go get the thing in front of your eyes where your eyes flicker. If you know nothing, you're just like, wait, what? And so, I think first, why don't we talk about all the different modalities there are out there?
Okay,
Like, and
so
just give like a brief little description
yeah,
of each.
yeah, because it's going to be you have to remember before I go into that, I am a cognitive behavioral therapist by trade, right? That's how I say myself. But I'm a very eclectic and psychodynamic type of practitioner. So I'm very holistic, right? So I really treat people with based on their needs. I'm not very rigid with my modality. But cognitive behavioral therapy is one of the most researched and well-known and successful treatments for anxiety disorders, right? And a lot of other treatments and modalities actually are based upon the umbrella of CBT, like DBT, ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, even what's it called, ERP, exposure and response prevention, right? That includes a lot of cognitive and behavioral types of treatments too. So for the sake of time, I'm not going to be able to kind of say exactly everything. But what I will say is that when it comes to anxiety disorders, the top treatments for that, for anxiety disorders, is cognitive behavioral therapy, exposure and response prevention, which is ERP, which ERP is really great for OCD and phobias. Very, very wonderful treatment. And then also DBT can be huge too, because that really helps focus on emotional regulation. It really incorporates a lot of the emotional regulation piece. Um, and that's dialectical behavior therapy. And then EMDR is also amazing but EMDR is really specifically a huge, huge treatment for trauma. So PTSD, it can help with so many other types of concerns, right? Issues, but for specific traumas and like really intrusive memories you have about certain trauma, EMDR is incredible, and that's eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Okay, so say all those things three times fast. So those are there are so many other modalities like positive psychology, motivational interviewing,
You said
um,
ACT, right?
acceptance and commitment therapy, rational
Okay.
emotive behavior therapy. I mean, oh my gosh, there's literally too many. Maybe we'll do
So
a
that's a
follow up
lot.
episode.
That's a lot for someone who is maybe listening to this and they're like whoa, I already have a lot of anxiety. Now you're throwing out all these acronyms. So you're saying if somebody comes to you, they're struggling with panic attacks, they're struggling with anxiety, they don't know where to begin, CBT.
I would say, okay, I don't want to say like definitely. I would say DM me, okay, and I'll ask you a little more about like what you're going through. What I will say is cognitive behavioral therapy is definitely the most widely known and successfully researched treatment for anxiety disorders.
Okay.
So you can't, but you have to remember when it comes to therapy, so much of your success in therapy has to do with your relationship with your therapist. Okay.
That was
So,
my that's what we're going to talk about later on in the episode is finding the right therapist.
right, because the truth is there could be, the CBT Nobel Peace Prize CBT practitioner who is like, the best person in the biz of it, won awards, and that person you might not even fit with when you go and see them. Right, you might not have a good rapport. Might not be connected to that therapist in a way that you need. And so that's really, I think, the harder part. Yes, learning about DBT and CBT, all these, learning about those is important. Okay. And you want to maybe do some research about the different types of therapy when it comes to all of those modalities. But really, really knowing what you need in in a relationship from a therapist and the space of a therapy office is huge. Okay. So not everyone, like, not everyone is going to want to be my client. Okay. I'm not going to be, they're not going to be for me. I'm not going to be for them. Same thing with all of my colleagues. And the thing is, a good therapist will know that about themselves. There are a lot of bad, really unethical practitioners out there that only that are so competitive, that are so type A, that have God complexes, that think that they know everything. And so you go into them, and some of those stories I've heard from some of the people that see me, if a therapist ever makes you feel like they're judging, like you're judged, and that you're in a space where you're feeling judgment coming from the therapist, and they don't let you even talk, they start talking about themselves a lot, and they give you their opinions. I mean, you can get a feeling. You
Mm-hmm.
really just get a feeling if you're in a space and, okay, this is icky, right? I don't know, it feels like I can't really say what I want to say because they're going to judge me, or that's not a good safe space for you. So sometimes, yeah, it's like dating. Honestly, finding a therapist is like dating sometimes. I'm not even kidding.
So, what would you say if you're someone who's wanting to start therapy and you're saying, also, wait, before we go to that, you said, so you're like a CBT therapist. So, if I came to you and you felt an ethical therapist, if I came to you and you felt EMDR would be best for me, would you refer me out?
100%.
Okay, so so maybe it could be
Yes.
good if you're feeling just super super lost and scrambled. Start with a CBT therapist. So
Mhm.
how would I find a good CBT therapist?
So, yeah. So I Okay, so there's a couple different ways. I mean, you asked me a question, how would I find a good one? I mean, I can tell you how to find one. Um, how you realize if someone is good for you is only by seeing them. Like I said, you could find someone that has the most amazing credentials and is looks on paper the perfect person for you. Then you go in there and they're not helpful at all. Actually, you don't connect to them.
And most therapists, if you find someone, they give you a little consultation phone call, right?
I mean, I just know what I do. I would hope that a lot of them do, because a lot of
Okay.
people deserve to know if they're a good fit or not. But can you find that out within 15 minutes? Sometimes, sometimes not.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um, but I would say, okay, yeah. So here's the thing, you can look on psychologytoday.com, right?
Okay.
There's like thousands of therapists on there, but you can search by your zip code. There's a lot of profiles you can read that take some time. The best thing, honestly, I found is if you have a Facebook, like join Facebook, and there's Facebook groups. Taylor, you and I
Mm-hmm.
talk about this all the time when it comes to
Oh yeah.
doctors. The same thing for therapists. There's like a White Marsh Township page in my, community, and a Conshohocken page. And so many people will just type in there, and you can do anonymous now on Facebook if you don't feel
Mm.
comfortable. And you can say, hey, I'm struggling with my relationship and I'm feeling really anxious about this. Do you know anyone who specializes in that? Hey, I'm having really bad nightmares about something that happened to me when I was little, and I feel like I can't function and I'm having panic attacks. Do you know who would specialize in that, who can help? And there's so many people that would be able to that chime in and say, oh, I have this person and she was so great, or this person and she was great. Now, of course, not everyone's going to be the same for you, but a word of mouth can kind of break that barrier a little bit to kind of see, okay, I trust this person just a little more, right? Because someone I know or someone on this forum is telling me how it is. So,
That's so true.
yeah, I mean,
Or even the opposite. If someone could say I had the worst experience, I felt like I wasn't heard. I've
yeah,
heard that. I've seen that in the Facebook groups with doctors too.
100%. Yeah. I mean, another thing is, we talk a little bit about the pros and cons of social media, but I've gotten a handful, more than a handful of clients based in Pennsylvania from Instagram, because they
Mm-hmm.
watch me, they hear me, and they already feel like they can trust me because I share a lot of about my life and a lot about my own stuff, which most archaic psychologists would definitely poo poo on. They would not like me
Mm-hmm.
at all. I don't think people in the field, there's a
But
lot of people in
see,
the
but
field
see,
do not like me.
as someone not in the field, I look at you as like I would want someone like you as my therapist because I feel like you're so authentic. I don't feel like you're just a textbook talking to me.
Well,
So it's
and
different. Like, and some people like that whole like, oh, I don't know anything about my therapist, whatever. But I feel like there needs to be space for people like you. Like there needs to be therapy, like because that's something I resonate with is when somebody is like you.
well, I appreciate that. And I feel like that's what, you know, I'm definitely hard on myself. I have imposter syndrome a lot of times, but I do think that I am really good at what I do because I genuinely really see the good in people and I want to help them. And so, unfortunately, in a lot of different fields, right? And a lot of times, same thing with therapists is sometimes you have some people that aren't in it for the right reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And, and hopefully you can weed them out sooner than later. But I will say that every single client says the same thing of what they connect to about me is because I am authentic. I'm very, very, I mean, if you see me in my sessions, I will almost never talk about myself. I mean, they know so much about me because of like my page. But the sessions that I provide, I no, they're for the people I'm with. I will never, just turn it into something I talk about at all. Um, but sometimes,
I think that leads
yeah,
into the last question though, which would be good for you to answer to help people kind of weed out the therapist that might not be working for them is what should somebody expect during a therapy session? Like if I'm brand new to this, I walk in, what should I expect? What is normal?
yeah. Okay, so, I wish there was just a blanket statement for this too, right? Response. But the truth of the matter is, there's how many different modalities are there, right? So there's going to be all different types of methods to the way that a therapist starts their session and ends their session. I mean, or what they do for the intake, right? A lot of intake sessions for the very first session is going to look a lot different than sessions after that because they're collecting information, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it shouldn't be so interviewee. I mean, I don't know, some people are where it's like, you know, what are your medical conditions? Do you sleep? Do you eat? Right? Some people might be like that. That's not my style. And so I think being able to gather information, but still make it more conversational. And also, you know, here's the one thing. What do you think? Actually, I'll ask you this. What do you think is the one thing about a human that you can't teach?
Compassion, emotion? I don't know. Wait.
Oh,
Compassion?
close.
Oh.
Close. It is kind of related to compassion. Starts with an E. Okay.
Give me a
Jeopardy
second
song.
word.
Okay, no, I'll just tell you. So, empathy,
Empathy. Dang it. Yeah,
right?
you're right.
Okay.
You're right.
So, empathy is literally one thing you can't teach, right? You can
Mm-hmm.
teach people how to have more compassion and what types of ways to talk to people and respect people. But empathy is this intrinsic quality that people have or they don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And empathy is seeing people, right? You as a person putting yourself in another person's shoes and really feeling their feeling about it and feeling a sense of I think that I understand and
Mm-hmm.
I can understand where they're coming from and here's what I can do to help make them feel safe in that, right? And here's what I want to do to make them feel not judged and I want to, help them be the best version of themselves. So if you can feel that in this space with therapists that there's real authentic empathy, then that is going to be a safe space for you. So I would say it's really hard to quantify, honestly, but I've said it since the beginning of my grad school even is, it was a huge existential conversations me and a lot of my colleagues have, which is, how do you teach empathy? How do you teach empathy? And how can you not have empathy in this career? You
Yeah.
and there's a
Yeah.
lot of people that don't. It's
Mm-hmm.
very interesting. So I don't know if that
I
answered the
have a funny
question.
story. No, I have a funny story about that though. So I think you meet, a lot of friends in college where you're talking to a lot of people and you're like, well, what's your degree or what are you getting your degree in? And that one person is like psychology. I just want to be a therapist. And you're just sitting there and you're like, I like, you just, interesting. Okay. Like you
Yes.
they're like a
Wow,
very
you
monotone, like one emotion person, and you're just like, okay, I would feel uncomfortable.
listen, you should have been in my grad program. Okay, because my me and my like five people that I love that are therapists with me that I still talk to were maybe the five people that were really in it because, well, first of all, not like I'm perfect, but I at least own my stuff, right? So I
Hmm.
know how to say I'm not perfect. I don't claim to believe that I know more than a person coming to see me. Like I'm not going to say you must listen to me. I mean, not for everybody, but I think that it makes people feel safe and it helps people feel like you can relate if you can say, I'm human too.
Hmm.
Like I'm human. And honestly, back in the days of Sigmund Freud, psychologists weren't supposed to be human. The
Yeah.
people weren't even supposed to look at us. They were supposed to sit on a couch, but away from us, not even towards our face,
Hmm.
and just literally, analyze that. And that is really interesting looking back now and how much it was so much about power and the therapist having power over a person. And like, how is that healthy? So
How are we still not adjusting with the times and like how people are and change? Like I think that's where you are so important as a therapist because you really have. You've seen people for what they are and you've seen this life for what it is and you've taken that knowledge of things you've been through, what you've seen, what you know, and you're like, this is how I feel is most helpful to my clients, along with the knowledge I learned in these textbooks, but also just as a human being. And that's
yes,
empathy.
yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, and there's empathy there. I will say, I really love that the paradigm is changing. So,
Hmm.
within psychology, so like we talk about this all the time, right? How I met you, Taylor, and how when we
Yeah.
back in 2018 or something, there was like 10 accounts that talked about mental health, right? And I was one, you were one. Dr. Nicole, the holistic psychologist, was one who has like 9 million followers now. She's amazing though. But,
Hmm.
and there was maybe like a couple other ones, right? And I knew in my mind that I was like, I always knew that I wanted to raise awareness about mental health in general. And I wanted to talk about things because there were too many secrets in my family and there were too many secrets in
Hmm.
everybody's life that I was working with, and how secrets make us sick, and how I think everyone deserves to talk openly about their life experience and not worry so much about what anyone's going to think about them, right?
That just gave me chills, like actually goosebumps up my when you said the secrets. Like it's so true. A lot of us just live in this secret life and these secret thoughts that are eating us alive every single day. And there's so much freedom to letting those secrets out to someone like you and someone who wants to listen and help. The
Hmm.
freedom that is holding you back is literally just this letting out these secrets.
Yes, you have to think
Yeah.
about that, right? I mean, secrets make us sick. They seriously do. And I don't mean like you need to start an Instagram page like me and to share your entire life. No. But by going to see a therapist and becoming vulnerable in a safe space with somebody when you're so used to holding and internalizing things and not even knowing how to have the language to talk about emotions, finding a therapist that make you feel safe when you're experiencing certain emotions is going to be tenfold, even just the start of the change, because the therapist is going to challenge you to actually verbalize what's going on in your brain, you know? And sometimes it's hard to know how to verbalize the things, but it's really important to do that because that's how you're going to start regulating, is to learn the language of all of that. So, if anyone is interested in coaching or lives in Pennsylvania, contact me. Just
Wanting an empathetic therapist. No, but I think
yes.
you actually just gave us the title of this episode, Secrets Make Us Sick, the role of therapy.
Ooh,
I love that.
love that.
I literally wrote
Okay.
it down when you said it because I got chills. I'm like, that's so true. Like there's so much freedom, you guys, that you can
Yeah.
have. And like even me, I fought therapy when I thought I was good and healed, but like there's always so much. There's always so much we need to let out. And a lot of times, especially if you're someone who doesn't want to put a burden on people, you just hold it in and
Yeah.
you pretend it doesn't exist. So
And
this
one
is
other
your
thing.
sign. Get a therapist, go to therapy.
Yes, yes. One other thing I just want to say, obviously I'm passionate about this topic. Um it once you the beginning, like I started this episode saying, making that first call and starting it is really the hardest part, because once you actually find someone who is safe for you, you like can't wait to go.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously. I mean, I know enough about myself and how to regulate myself now. My therapist that I have now, she's going to be a part of my toolkit forever. And I only
Mm-hmm.
see her maybe once a month or like as needed for maintenance. But I know when I see her, I get so much value out of that. And it's part of my toolkit. And I think I can't wait to see her today. I was like,
Just
I'm
that feeling
so,
of release after you leave her, like you literally
yeah.
feel a release. It's like a
I spent the
flushing of your
entire,
system.
yeah, I spent the entire session crying like a week ago because I needed to and I felt
Mm-hmm.
safe to do it. And I was just talking. I don't even think I was making sense, but she just let me do that. And she's so great. So, the first initially, that initial, choice to do it, that's the hardest part. So
Mm-hmm.
I hope this helped.
Secrets make us sick. This is our sign.
Here we go.
Start
All right,
therapy. All right.
guys. Love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Subscribe, comment, leave us a review. We really could use it. We love you guys so much. We'll be back next week.
Bye.
Bye.